Hey everyone, welcome to Lachlan Likes a Thing, the show where I take a thing and see whether or not I like it. Now the thing we're looking at in this video is the V-Moda XS, which is the new portable on-ear headphone from V-Moda. And before I start this review, I should say this is a review unit that was given to me by V-Moda. And I unboxed this headphone on my channel about a month ago. So in that month's time, I've had a good chance to compare it against my favorite daily use portable on-ear headphone, the Sennheiser Inferior. And in the last week or so, I've actually had the opportunity to compare it against the new Beats Solo 2 from everyone's favorite company, Beats by Dre. And this comparison has actually been really interesting for me because all three of these headphones, even the Beats, have their pros and cons. And, this opportunity to compare the three has really helped me establish personally what I really want out of a portable on-ear headphone. Anyway, let's just dive right into it. So first of all, in terms of design and build quality, the V-Moda XS, just like the M80, which I looked at earlier on my channel, upholds V-Moda's reputation for making a really nicely crafted and solidly built headphone. Now, not everyone is a fan of the industrial design of V-Modas. They have this kind of aggressive, almost like a gothic industrial look to them. But I think very few people can complain about the build quality because these are headphones that have been designed to withstand the rigors of daily use. And V-Moda makes a big thing out of saying that their headphones comply with various kind of military grade standards for build quality. One thing that some people might not be comfortable with is that the headphone cables to each of the earpieces are exposed. Personally, I don't think this is a big deal, but some people are a bit, iffy about that kind of thing. Another thing about the design of the V-Modas, it's a really nice mixture of metals and plastics. They feel absolutely solid. Great feature of the V-Modas is that they have a detachable cable that can be plugged in on both sides. And a little plus is that they actually include a plug so that you can plug up the unused side of the earpiece just to make sure that the channels are absolutely balanced in terms of physical characteristics, which is something quite unique actually, and gives you an idea of the kind of thought that they've put into these headphones. The headphones themselves fold up into a very nice compact shape. As I pointed out, the only other headphone that I've seen fold up into a more compact shape is the Bose Soundtrue on-ear, and they come with a carrying case that you can pop your headphones into. It's a form-fitting carrying case. Very convenient. The one thing I do not like about this carrying case is that it's designed in such a way that you must detach the cable in order to put the headphone into the carrying case, and then you have to curl up the cable and put it into this space. So I would have preferred it, just the case to be just a little bit bigger so that you wouldn't have to do that every single time you took the headphones in and out of the case. Now speaking of the cable on the V-Moda XS is a bit of a mixed bag because it is a cable that it's nice enough in terms of actual physical durability. It certainly feels solid, but the unfortunate thing about the cable is that it has a fair amount of memory. It develops kinks really easily, and it's quite a noisy cable because of the fabric braiding. So it's not my favorite cable that I've encountered on a portable headphone, I have to say. Now, you may have noticed that the V-Modas have an interesting shape because they aren't curved in the headband like, say, other headphones where you look at the Sennheiser Inferior and you have this circle, whereas it's more elliptical with the XS. And the point of this particular design from the V-Moda XS is that they were trying to eliminate the gap between your head and the headband shape. And we're moving on to comfort here, but when you put them on your head, basically what happens is that the headband keeps in constant contact with your scalp, and there's actually very little clamping force on the sides of your head. And the headphone mostly relies on friction between the headband and your hair to stop it from moving around. Now, I have to say, in practice, this produces interesting results. The V-Moda XS is a very comfortable headphone, especially for an on-ear headphone, when you're just kind of sitting down and laying still, because there's not a great deal of clamping force, there's not a great deal of pressure on your ears, so it's quite nice that way. The weight is evenly distributed across your head. However, the friction, I found at least on my head, is not actually enough for the headphone to feel absolutely completely stable on the head when you're moving around. So at times I've felt that the V-Moda is not the kind of headphone that would stay on your head if the cable was accidentally kind of yanked. It's not the kind of headphone that will stay on your head if you have a sudden head jerking movement, and therefore it's not the kind of headphone that I feel comfortable wearing as a kind of day-to-day headphone in some cases, because let's say you were running to the train and accidentally the cable got yanked or something like that, it just would not stay on your head, and that's really a big kind of drawback, at least from my perspective, in terms of what I want out of a portable headphone. I want it to be absolutely stable. And that's also one of the reasons why the Sennheiser Amperior is one of my favorite headphones, because even though the clamping force on the Amperior is quite high, and it's high enough that after 1 or 2 hours of use your ears do get sore, the headphone is designed in such a way that it's extremely solid on the head. There's no amount of head shaking or anything like that because of the broad headband and the clamping force that will dislodge this headphone from your head. So for me, because I have a tendency to run for the train when I'm late, it's the kind of thing that it kind of depends on what you're really after, I guess, in terms of a portable headphone, but I definitely prefer a stronger clamping force. The other thing about the V-Moda XS is that you'll notice that there's these very large ports on the faceplates, and these allow for tuning of bass and the various sound of the headphones, the characteristic of the headphone. The thing about this headphone as a result, though, is because of these large ports, this is not a fully sealed design. Noise isolation is below average on the V-Moda XS. And again, for a portable headphone that you're going to be using in the city, everything like that, it doesn't block out a great deal of noise. And this is kind of really unfortunate because on-ear headphones are already not great in terms of noise isolation. And again, I think the Beats Solo 2 and the Sennheiser Amperior trump the XS in this regard. So let's move on to the sound of the XS. Now, again, this is an area where I think the V-Moda XS is going to appeal to some people more than others. The XS has a sound that is first and foremost mid-forward. So it's got a particularly strong kind of emphasis on vocals as opposed to the kind of bass or the treble notes, and this translates into a sound that it's not exactly balanced. It's a sound that I think can sound a little unnatural and somewhat honky or a bit brassy at times. It's just a little too forward. I think the relative mix of bass and kind of mid-band in this headphone is not to my personal taste, and I've mentioned quite a few times, I'm not a big fan of, for instance, AKG headphones, which I've found have a similar sort of mid-band emphasis. For some people, they kind of like the rawness of that sound. It does help emphasize vocals, and it does make things feel very kind of lively and vivacious. But I found that in combination with the low isolation of these headphones, I would find myself turning up the volume higher, and then the sound would just get it would just get a bit splashy and aggressive for me. So it's not my preferred kind of sound. Although I have to say, in terms of actual technical capability, the XS is a good headphone. It's fast. It's kind of for a small on-ear headphone, it has a lot of control and a lot more clarity than a lot of other smaller on-ear headphones that I've heard. My only other criticism of the sound is that the bass is just a little loose at times. It's just a bit gummy and kind of slightly uncontrolled. When I compare it against the Sennheiser Amperior, I much prefer the sound of the Amperior personally, because I think the bass is tighter on the Amperior. It doesn't have that kind of mid-band vocal emphasis that I'm not a big fan of, but maybe you are. And also, there's a particular treble peak on the Amperior which makes everything have a kind of shimmer to it, which again some people are sensitive to, but I'm a fan of, and it's not so much on the XS. So, you know, different strokes for different folks, so you kind of have to try this out. Now, an interesting comparison I found was with the Beats Solo when I was doing listening between these two headphones. The Solo is definitely less articulate because of it's got much more of a bassy sound to it. Everything's much more tilted towards the low end, and it's got a more intimate soundstage. But I have to say personally, because I'm not a fan of this kind of mid-band emphasis, I found myself enjoying the Solo 2 more for more genres of music. So I know this is going to make a lot of people quite upset, but I actually ended up preferring the Solo 2 over the XS. The XS is definitely a much better built headphone than the all-plastic affair that is the Solo 2. But in terms of portable kind of noise isolation, in terms of comfort, and in terms of the sound signature that I kind of liked, I preferred the Solo 2. So take from that what you will. Overall, I think that the XS is a headphone that is a good headphone. It's been designed in a way that's going to appeal to a lot of people. It's comfortable, it's lightweight, it's durable. But for me, there's just a few things about this headphone that, the cable, the noise isolation, that kind of thing, that kind of make me hesitate about recommending it for everyone. So I do recommend, if you get a chance, try this headphone out for yourself, see if you like the sound. But I personally, if I was in the market for a portable on-ear headphone, I personally wouldn't be looking at the XS after this kind of review. Anyway, click on the like button if you found this review helpful. You can talk to me on Facebook at facebook.com/LachlanLikesAthing, or on Twitter at LachLikesAthing. Thanks to all my regular subscribers, and happy listening.